Okay, so since some of you guys haven't actually seen what Android looks like, I'm just going to show it to you on the emulator, just quickly. Okay, so for those of you who've actually installed this, this is based on the new version. So at the moment I'm running Cupcake, which is the current release on my phone, but this is running Donut on here. So you'll see that if anyone looks at this, you'll see, it's slightly more. Okay. So this is the home screen. It has the Google box sitting here, and this is exactly, I think, why they're so passionate about Android. They want everyone to be one click away from all the world's information, blah blah, all that. But it has all the applications that you usually expect to see: messaging, dialer, contacts. Yep.
Can you replace that Google box?
You can move it. I don't know whether you can delete it.
You can delete it.
You can? Okay. Yeah, cool.
And like you were saying before, you can replace it with HTC, for example, have their own version in the Hero, so that search bar can look different. But so far it's always been using Google's.
Can you make it an Ask Jeeves search or something?
I'm not sure.
No.
Maybe write one. See what happens.
Okay, so I won't spend too much time looking at this. It's a phone, I suppose, and there's a few applications that I could show you on this. Ones that sort of demonstrate the fact that Android supports touchscreen. It supports any sort of GPS or accelerometer. But if any of you have seen an iPhone, then you're going to be sort of aware of the sorts of things that phones or smartphones are being able to do these days. So is there anything else that people want to see on this emulator just before I move on? This is probably. I think I'll just leave it there. Okay, so the building. Whoa. The parts of an application. So these are the things that you can use to decompose your application. Has anyone done? Who knows Java ME? Not many. Yeah, a few. That's okay. So first of all, an activity. Activity is what you can think of as your UI component. So if in the Java ME sense, if this is your screen, then the UI component might be. So this would be a label in Java ME. Here it's called a text view. If this said like GTUG, and then it's got a list of all your members. This is handled by a list view, and buttons, just as you would with normal that sort of Java AWT drag and dropping UI components. So that's what your activity is. Every application will extend the activity class. We'll extend that activity class. Okay, so the other parts are your intent receiver. And first of all, the notion of intent. So when you have an application, one of the things I mentioned before that these applications are sandboxed at the process level, but there's a way that they can communicate between them, and that is done via the notion of intent. And this is basically a broadcast notification or alarm, and it says to the other applications that are installed on the phone, I wish to perform a certain task, and the other applications can put their hand up and say, I can help you with that task, and they do that via intent receivers. So intent receivers, simply as the name suggests, and they basically map that intent to that receipt. Okay, so services, and this is one of the things that is also quite unique to Android. These are, you can think of these as a faceless task. So something that runs in the background and that will update your data sources and refresh any visible UI components. But the key point is that they will run in the background. So other platforms allow you only to run like one application at a time. Android actually encourages, to an extent, that these will run in the background. So if you have too many running in the background, your application manager will start saying, no, you're killed, etc. But if it's not taking up too many resources, then it will allow this to keep running. So the classic one that I have, and I'll just show you on the emulator here, is the weather service. So you can't see it on, it's on my screen. You can't see it on this. So the way that I get to these notifications is just dragging down the top here. And I can be in any application and just drag this down and see when someone's sends me a text message or something, So this will come through here with the start of an email or the start of a text message. And I have a weather application that sits here. And when this goes back up, it sits in the top left-hand corner and always tells me that it's 17 degrees or whatever outside. So it's let me move this other way. So that ability to run in the background is quite unique. Content providers. So that's the last sort of component I wanted to look at. And basically, this is a way for you to expose any of the data in your application to any other application that's installed. So let's say, for example, in the Gmail application, if you're about to write an email, it will actually, rather than coding up, going and fetching those contacts from a database, having their own copy of those contacts, it will just say, I wish to access contacts. And then the contents application will say, you can have my contacts. So it actually says you are allowed to access this data. And the ability to tap into other applications and build on top of them is, again, one of those features that Android really tries to achieve. There's a couple of other ways that Android is different, and the first is the concept of views. And there's the two that I mentioned are map view and web view. So a map view is just like taking the Google Maps application and sticking that component into your code just as you would any other UI piece of UI. So you can actually embed rich maps within an application just by using this map view as you would any other UI component. And the same similarly with a web view. So you can actually embed HTML content directly by using that. One of the other things that's different about Android is that it uses or it allows you, it gives you two choices of building your UIs. You can either do it programmatically, so you can write code and drag and drop components, or you can use XML. And the way that you use XML is via the R class. So I'll just show you. I might even just show you this activity. So I said before that an activity class was that UI component, and the way that you access your external XML resources is in a static fashion. So when you're setting that initial view that is showed to the user when the application boots up, you access it via R, which is this generated class. So it's basically got hexadecimal numbers and specific mapping, memory mapping. But so you go r.layout.main, and this address maps to these folders over here. So under layout, you have an XML file. I need more RAM on this thing. It's only got 1 gig. Struggling. Anyway, so just as it's loading, so there's an XML file that sits behind this, and it has all the it has all of those that sort of embedded that tree hierarchy of XML.
Is there some sort of graphic? Oh, you're about to show us.
That's right. Keep going.
I was going to say graphic UI authoring environment like Interface Builder for the iPhone.
You're looking at it.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's rubbish.
It's rubbish.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know. Ash, what do you think?
Well, you can live with it.
Yeah.
But you got to understand that it's using a different metaphor to iPhone. iPhone's actually based on fixed pixels, whereas this is actually going to render on a different set of resolutions and screen types. So it kind of brings the whole drama of Java's AWT and all of their layout hang-ups to this particular environment. But you can, certainly I've started to actually love it, believe it or not. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
I really quite, because I've built for both iPhone and Android, and I've actually started to really enjoy this whole layout mechanism.
Okay.
So I know that you've had some posts that say the other, but
yeah.
Does it have grid bag layout? Because that would be awesome.
Grid bag? No, it's got I think it's got 6 different layouts.
Yeah.
But no grid bag.
Good.
That old chestnut.